Please, Carlos or Irisdea, could you set Leonardo Garcia to the panelist code, please? He's connected already. Okay. So welcome, Leonardo. Would you please set on your, okay. And test your microphone, please, just to set
Hello, how are you?
A ver. Very nice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna start in just 1 minute. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Rosana Rivas, IFMB Clinical Engineering Division elected board member and WHO Collaborating Center for Health Technology Management at the University of Vermont, US consultant. Welcome to Clinical Engineering Certification Value and Purposes, Improving Clinical Engineering Profession, CED IFMB November webinar, which is developed to promote education, collaboration, and clinical engineering information exchange. The QA button is available to set a question. It'll be addressed at the end of the presentation. We're going to start now. Okay. And this is going to be the overview and context of this important topic for all the clinical engineering global community. CED IFMB is very pleased to distribute and also to divulgate and exchange the experiences of our dear panelists in the following minutes. WHO World Health Organization stated in 2018 the relevance and the key impact of engineers, medical engineering professionals in the site. Also, CED IFMB in 2022, just in 2022, referred the role as clinical engineering, biomedical engineering, and or healthcare technology management, depending on regional terminology. This is something that is being achieved as a knowledge and a fact after and among the several sessions of work in the last years. Clinical engineers assess and manage the use of health technologies, which WHO defines as the application of organized knowledge and skills in the form of medical devices, medicines, vaccines, etc. This is an integral approach. This is a general approach about what are the engagement, what is engagement between clinical engineers and healthcare issues. And this is provided by Tom Judd and Jadine David in the growing role of clinical engineering, merging technology at the point of care in the Global Clinical Engineering Journal. In addition, the data recently collected by CED IFMB and GCA tells us pretty clear that certification is a need, not a secondary need. It's an essential need. We can see here that almost 80% in the global arena need a certification program. By the side of Africa region, 90% need a certification program as well. It's essential clinical engineering certification to strengthen engineers' outcomes regarding healthcare technology development, quality aspects, the sustainability of the health technology systems. Also to increase the opportunities to achieve decision-making responsibilities. Tom Judd and Jadine David also stated that with demonstrated competencies and internationally coordinated professional credentials, clinical engineers will be prepared to be not just equal partners with other members of the healthcare staff professionals, but also to be engaged gradually more and more in a strategic decision, legislation, regulation, and policy. Certification then is an absolutely necessity of our profession, clinical engineers. This is also the insight from Dan Clark in the recent town hall for credentialing done by CD IFMBE. This is the way, according to Dan Clark, to raise the profile, to get more resources, and to increase our ability to improve healthcare. Although there are, as always, some challenges, different regulatory and legislative frameworks. In some countries, the certifications to professionals can be only given by university or state agencies and have a legal value, while in other countries, the certification bodies can be, for example, private associations of professionals. This is a contribution from Ernesto Ladanza, in that moment, chair of IFMBE CED, Clinical Engineering Division. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our first panelist. Let me give you the insights of my dear colleague, Humberto Noco. Humberto Noco is graduated in biomedical engineering in 1999, and after a short experience in R&D for a major Italian medical device manufacturer, from 2002, he works as a clinical engineer in public hospital. From 2002 to 2022, worked as head of clinical engineering for Varese Town and University Hospital. And from April 2022, moved to Niguarda Hospital in Milan. As general member and board member of the Italian Clinical Engineers Association, he has been active in clinical engineering profession, professional development, and recognition in Italy. He is now serving as president of the association. Through the years, he worked with major universities in courses related to clinical engineering and health technology management. It's my pleasure then to give the floor to Humberto Noco. You tell me, Humberto, if you need support from here to set your slides.
Okay, thank you, Roxana. Thank you. I would like to thank the IFMBE and the CED division for inviting us as myself, but also as representative of the Italian Clinical Engineering Association. Let me just know if you can see my presentation I just shared. Actually, to be honest, Roxana said quite a bit of what I'm saying afterwards throughout my presentation, which will kind of evaluate and let you know what we're going through in Italy as to this certification process and an issue we're talking about. The first thing is a little bit of history about clinical engineering in Italy. First medical equipment maintenance services date back to the early 60s. Actually, the clinical engineering department I'm head of right now started in 1959, which is probably the oldest throughout Italy, of course, as maintenance service for medical device. That were probably a few number around the hospital, but still we can say that clinical engineering in Italy started way back. It's not until the early 90s, together with the opening of the clinical engineering postgraduate school in Trieste, We just celebrated 30 years of the schools last September. The profession had a boost in Italy. Many of our members today and senior clinical engineers throughout Italy attended the schools and then started clinical engineering departments, mainly in the northern part of Italy, but then it widened out and got to the rest of the boot, if you see what I mean. The way Italy, if you look up at the map of Italy on the globe, you see that it resembles a boot. The first decade of the 21st century faced a consolidation of active departments. So what happened actually is that we started going beyond maintenance itself. We started dealing with HTA as technology assessment, healthcare risk management, and just to say, to use the expression we're using right now, we were getting more and more into an HTM way of doing our job inside the hospital, rather than just facing electrical safety and point-to-point maintenance of medical devices. Of course, our profession is still changing, and we need to have it to keep up with the pace. For example, of softwares and integration of medical device with the ICT and everything else. Of course, this ended up in a growth in numbers of the CEs enrolled in each department throughout the hospital. The latest, sorry to say that, but we have to see the half full glass, as we say in Italy. The latest burst to clinical engineering in Italy came with COVID-19, because probably due to the great amount of work we had to do, we could handle and we could obtain from our CEOs and hospital CEOs to enroll more and more, especially younger colleagues that came to work with us and started working really in the HTM business and trying to widen up our way of doing our job. So the thing is that this growth can be viewed also in the growth of the association. The association was established in 1993, so we will be 30 years old next year. Great celebrations for that. But if you see the trend of members, actually we started from a few, like 20 to 30 in the first years, and we got up to almost 2,000. The count is from 2022. The thing is that this kind of reflects what the profession growth has been in Italy through the years, because the association collects more or less, I would say 90% of the professionals that work in the healthcare system in Italy. So it's kind of a good, probably it's not the totality, but it's kind of a good mirror of how the profession is growing throughout Italy. These are data taken last year. It's a female base. We're getting a little bit on the female side because we have 52% of members who are females and 48, of course, otherwise doesn't make 100. 48 that are men. So we're getting more and more women doing our job. And the other thing that I didn't put in the slide is that it's kind of a young profession. Most of the members are under 40 to 45 years old. So it's really growing and keeping up with the new people. To get into this was needed to explain how we got to the point that we needed some sort of certification. It wasn't just like copying what the American colleagues have been doing for the past 20 years. We came up to the point that we were really aware that we needed something. That is why, basically, of course, we are aware that continuous training enhances the body of knowledge and the skills of the CEs, regardless of their age. I've been working for 20 years, but if I don't keep up with innovation, with new techniques of maintenance, with whatever you can think of, I will be getting older job-wise in a really short time. So this is why our association uses a lot of its budget to organize training events and classes, which are both webinars, day-long classes. We also started this year a week-long training course, a summer school we held in early September with 30 colleagues that came to a place, and we shared also a place where we stayed together for 1 week, and this helps a lot in building up relationships and a way of exchanging knowledge and skills, which is one of the things we actually figured out a lot during the COVID pandemic first burst, especially in 2020. Of course, we are aware that the number of courses that you can attend to isn't per se a proof of professional expertise and knowledge. So as I stated before, you actually need a third party to certify the skills. Skills, knowledge, capabilities that are really part of a single professional. This is really needed because our body of knowledge is so continuously changing through the years that it can be fixed, for example, at the time of our graduate and university studies. And this is why you always have to keep up with that. So I didn't write this slide looking at Tom Judd and Yadin David works, but actually there's a lot of it in what they've been saying. Of course, we think that a certification program is valuable for a single professional, but the more it is, if you have to keep it up. I mean, every now and then you have to turn into another, let's say another exam to see if the changes in the job and what you've been studying through the years and the improvement you made in your careers just face the change of the profession. Meaning that we shouldn't take for granted skills once acquired, but sometimes you just forget. If I think of what I've been studying at the university, there are many items that I just lost through the years because I've been doing something else. But of course, the certification program, we think that should ask you even for some money, because if you spend some money on it, then of course you feel more taken by the process itself, if you see what I mean. But still, it doesn't have to be too expensive, especially if you have to go through it every 2 or 3 years. Otherwise, it's just a loan you have to pay every 2 or 3 years. Of course, it should be worth it. Meaning that, of course, we had too many pat on our shoulders through the years. And of course, it's starting to become difficult to convince colleagues to enroll in a certification program or whatever, if nothing is going to change. So you always have to try to put together your certification program with something that can be really felt as physical, and probably the most physical thing I can think of is your salary at the end of the month. Just to make it worth it. Okay, it's not just like saying, oh, I'm a certified clinical engineer as well. Okay, then what's up with that? Except for your ego. Of course, this is really easier as far as I see it, to establish where a rating culture is normal, is the normal way of thinking. When I wrote this, I was thinking, for example, about the US as an example, meaning that you don't have some sort of legal value of a certificate or of a degree, as it is in Italy. In Italy, our degree in engineering has a legal value regardless of the university that issued that certificate. Whereas, for example, I know that in the United States, it's different if you graduate in university A rather than B or rather than C, because they have a rating and they have some sort of differentiation. And so, of course, the idea of certificating competences and say that someone states that someone else is competent and its competency is kept through the years, of course, probably this is easier to understand in this kind of culture. What did we do in Italy? Given that we had two basic starting points, and this is, as you said before, the thing is, you have to face the regulation you're staying in. So you need to be aware where you're living. Otherwise, you will probably get on a street that will lead you to nowhere. We started a long work. It's been going on for many years. That ended up in this national decree in 2018. That basically it rules many things. But among these, it rules that the creation within the Order of Engineers, which is a national institution that collects all the engineers throughout Italy. For those who were in Rome in 2019 and International Congress, we had the Global Peer Reunion the first evening in the headquarters of the Order of Engineers in Italy. Of course, the rules, the national decree rules the creation of a national list of certified clinical biomedical engineers. And the enrollment in the list is to be activated on a voluntary basis. So we're not obliged to enroll in that list. To me, this was both a goal and a starting point, because it states that there are new professions important for the healthcare system, and the clinical engineering is among these. That a certification process is needed to assess the knowledge and skills of such professions, which of course might be easy to think of and might be some sort of normal to think of, but I can assure you it's not that way in Italy. But it's also a starting point. We have to start from there, because it can be used as a basis for the future enrollment of PE. I mean, I can enroll people who have a certification rather than other people, because it's based on skill assessment, and it's not just like someone who gave me a piece of paper, or on account of courses I attended through the years. Then it can lead to further definition of the clinical engineering role in Italy in the framework of the healthcare system. Of course, it's the basis. Unfortunately, what happened is we started working on what should become next of this national decree, and we ended up in the COVID pandemic. So I don't know if we were unlucky or whatever, but we had a sort of pause in the process, and we're starting to get back into it and see how we can make it. We can make it grow, because basically at the moment being is a little bit more than a seed, but we did plant the seed. We're starting to see some leaves, but not more than that. We're not seeing the tree yet. So what are the next steps in Italy? Of course, on one side, we have to make Italian clinical engineers more aware that there is a certification program that has clear rules for enrollment. So if you want to face this certification program, you have to know that you have to be you have been working for like 10 top years or whatever. Of course, it makes it possible for clinical engineers to keep their certification active without excessive cost, because otherwise, as I said before, probably it will be dumped or never started. But still, on the other side, we have to stress policymakers that they need high-level professionals in health technology management as a guarantee of the safety and quality of medical devices in the healthcare facility, thus making the importance of a certification program really meaningful, because you need to have the quality of the professional in the healthcare system if you want to achieve the kind of safety and efficiency and efficacy of medical devices you would like to have to treat your patients every day. And of course, we need to work still with policymakers to define a career progression and definition of the CE roles related to such certification. Otherwise, it's just a nice job, a nice exercise that won't lead you to nowhere. I think I'm finished. Just back because I can. Okay, yes. So I will get back to you so we can keep going. Thanks a lot. Your mic.
Thank you very much. It was an amazing presentation and so interesting summary of what is going on in the status of Italy and in the next steps as well. Certainly you have a certain highlights to discuss in the next minutes. Let's now introduce to our next panelist. He is Leonardo Garcia. Leonardo Garcia is electronic engineer with more than 18 years of experience in hospital technology management. He is a master in business administration from the university, teaching specialist biomedical equipment. Leonardo Garcia is coordinator of the Fundación Valle del Dili at the University Hospital in Cali, Colombia. He is also president of the Colombian College of Clinical Engineering, COLCINC, and professor in the postgraduate program in clinical engineering at the Universidad Autónoma de Occidente in Cali, Colombia. It's my pleasure now to introduce Leonardo Garcia, and I invite you, Leonardo, to share your screen or tell us if you prefer we set it from here.
Hola, muy buenos días para todos. Voy a compartir mi pantalla. Roxana, ¿me escuchas?
Muy bien, se escucha perfecto.
Perfecto. ¿Y ven mi pantalla?
Todavía no, ahora sí, perfecta.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches para todos los que nos escuchan en todo el mundo. Pretendo contarles cuál ha sido el avance de este gran propósito, que es lograr la certificación de ingenieros clínicos en Colombia. En primera instancia, quiero contarles muy rápidamente, nuestro país tiene cerca de 51 millones de habitantes. Gozamos de una cobertura en salud de cerca del 95%. Esto quiere decir que una gran parte de la población tiene acceso a sistemas de salud. Puede tratarse cualquier tipo de enfermedad. El sistema de salud colombiano lo permite. Sin embargo, hay importantes limitaciones. Normalmente está centralizado las buenas instituciones clínicas o las instituciones clínicas con mayor suficiencia técnica y clínica en las ciudades principales. En los extremos del país usualmente es difícil lograrlo. Hay importantes oportunidades de mejora para lograr calidad y suficiencia en la atención en esos extremos. Hay oportunidades de trabajo grandes. Allí hay más de 66,000 instituciones o profesionales que se encargan de atender la salud de los colombianos. En eso se cuentan profesionales independientes o hospitales grandes. Digamos que muy rápidamente esa es la estructura en términos de salud colombiana. ¿Cuáles han sido los pasos para establecer esta certificación? Nosotros los hemos considerado en 4 etapas. Hay una primera que ha sido la creación y la maduración de una base técnica, de una base académica. Hay una siguiente que es el establecimiento de organizaciones o asociaciones, que son lo que nos ayuda a unir y a relacionar a los ingenieros en el ejercicio. En una tercera parte, la formulación y el establecimiento de políticas y los estándares que nos van a ayudar a formar el elemento para poder llegar al concepto de certificación y finalmente la certificación. Pongo en rojo algunas de las etapas, porque creemos que esas etapas están en desarrollo en estos momentos. Entonces vamos a desarrollarlos rápidamente. Primero que todo, la base académica, la base teórica en la que hemos estado trabajando, se fundamenta en los programas de pregrado que existen hoy. Existen bastantes universidades en el país que brindan formación a ingenieros biomédicos. En muchas de ellas hay énfasis en ingeniería clínica, pero esto nos ha ayudado a ir formando la base estructural del conocimiento técnico en el país. Esto por su parte ha ayudado a formar los primeros simposios y los primeros congresos que han atraído profesionales y especialistas de otros países que nos han ayudado a conocer las experiencias y el conocimiento que existe alrededor de la ingeniería clínica, y pues esto viene desarrollándose aproximadamente unos 20 años. Lo que ha logrado hoy consolidar unos programas específicos en ingeniería clínica. Hoy hay programas de maestría en ingeniería biomédica con énfasis en ingeniería clínica o especialización específica en ingeniería clínica, que es en la que participo como docente. Esto se ha formado a partir de la necesidad de la formación y del establecimiento de este conocimiento en el país. A su vez, esto nos llevó a generar nuevos espacios de reunión, nuevos espacios de relacionamiento. Tenemos el Congreso Internacional de Ingeniería Clínica, que en marzo del 2023 tendrá lugar la 5ª versión, y allí nos volveremos a encontrar a seguir hablando de ingeniería clínica, y hemos tenido varios coloquios y simposios que están empezando a formar ese concepto de reunión, ese concepto de unión. Hemos tenido el acompañamiento en estas actividades de importantes profesionales que hacen parte del Colegio Americano de Ingeniería Clínica. Nos ha acompañado el ingeniero Antonio Hernández, el ingeniero Mario Castañeda, que damos un mensaje póstumo por su partida hace unos meses. Nos han acompañado y nos han brindado su apoyo y su conocimiento, que hace que hoy podamos tener o decir que tenemos una base de conocimiento técnico en la ingeniería clínica. Varios hospitales venimos implementando acciones de lo que hemos aprendido, y hoy podemos decir que contamos con un modelo que nos ayuda a definir esas condiciones, esos estándares y esas necesidades en términos de seguridad de paciente. Hoy los hemos consolidado en un documento que lo hemos construido con la universidad, ya se ha divulgado en los congresos, que es la base técnica, es la base académica que nos lleva posteriormente a la certificación. Y pues obviamente el relacionamiento, la unión con todos estos profesionales, con todos estos expertos, nos ayuda a aprender y a conocer. En sí, el relacionamiento que hemos podido lograr, aquí hay una foto que lo que veo no aparece, es de las reuniones que hemos venido haciendo. Nos hemos unido en primera instancia y en los primeros años de este ejercicio, que fue alrededor del año 2000, entre el 2009 y el 2016, estuvimos haciendo reuniones locales que han hecho que los ingenieros se puedan reunir y puedan compartir experiencias, que puedan compartir todos los, digamos que el día a día de las actividades del ingeniero, y a partir de compartir esa información y de mezclarla con el conocimiento que empezaba a llegar de las reuniones o de las conferencias que podíamos tener con expertos, podíamos empezar a lograr mejoras en los procesos en los hospitales. Luego pudimos formar parte por cuenta del Ministerio de Salud de unas mesas de trabajo para empezar a construir más conocimiento, y ya conocimiento que pudiera de alguna forma hacer parte de la normativa nacional. El Ministerio de Salud ha estado muy interesado en que la estructura de acción de los ingenieros clínicos en el hospital y la función en términos de seguridad que tienen esté bien establecida desde el punto de vista normativo. Y hemos hecho parte de mesas de trabajo, y toda esa información ha podido ser divulgada y repartida por todo el país, de manera que rápidamente se logra la retroalimentación de los ingenieros, con ello poder tener la recolección de los conceptos y de la información para ir llevando este conocimiento más lejos. Digamos que una de las consecuencias de todo esto es la formación del Colegio Colombiano de Ingeniería Clínica, que se estableció en el año 2017. Esto ocurrió pues con el acompañamiento del Colegio Americano. Esto fue una sugerencia que fue bien recibida y que nos ayudó a empezar a establecer los elementos que necesitábamos para que juntos formáramos esa base técnica, esa base de conocimiento, y luego la estructura que nos va a ir llevando a la formalización, que seguramente la vamos a lograr no solamente a partir de el cumplimiento de los requisitos académicos de un programa de formación, sino que además de eso tengamos una certificación que nos ponga en un nivel que permita también tener un beneficio para las personas que logran esta certificación dentro de sus roles de trabajo. Y ahí es donde viene la siguiente parte, que es una parte en la que estamos trabajando, que tiene que ver con las políticas y los estándares. Pongo esta primera parte en negro y rojo porque hemos venido formándola, hemos logrado cumplir con el establecimiento de una estructura documental y de conocimiento que la hemos venido llamando las buenas prácticas en ingeniería clínica para Colombia. Para ello nos hemos basado en la información que hemos podido conseguir, que hemos logrado de nuestros profesores en el Colegio Americano. Están las guías de EIMI, los estándares de Joint Commission, información sobre la forma de actuar y de atender la ingeniería clínica o la gestión tecnológica hospitalaria, específicamente desde el rol del ingeniero clínico. Y obviamente mezclado esto con las normatividades y las exigencias en el país en pro de la calidad. En nuestro país existe un estándar de habilitación que son los requisitos mínimos para poder prestar servicios de salud. Hoy funciona ese estándar, ha venido cambiando, hoy tiene una resolución nueva que nos hace que este manual tenga una modificación continua a medida que las resoluciones cambian, porque esas exigencias a su vez van teniendo modificaciones también en pro de la seguridad del paciente. Hay un estándar también que es el de acreditación, en el que se busca la excelencia en términos de atención en salud. Hoy el país cuenta con 57 instituciones acreditadas que han cumplido con estos estándares. Ese no es un requisito obligatorio en el país, pero hemos querido tomarlo, digamos que adherir esos criterios a la práctica del ingeniero clínico, a la función de gestión tecnológica hospitalaria en este manual de buenas prácticas de ingeniería clínica en Colombia. Esto, digamos que viene a su vez amarrado con las políticas. Hay un trabajo fuerte en ello. Una de las organizaciones con las que hemos trabajado es el SENA, es el Servicio Nacional de Aprendizaje, encargado en el país de darle forma o de formalizar las profesiones y de definir los conceptos de certificación en algunas funciones específicas de las personas que trabajamos en Colombia. Estamos definiendo una estructura para lograr que haya reconocimiento de los ingenieros clínicos. Este es uno de los elementos importantes. Esto ha sido motivado por el Ministerio de Salud, pero corresponde digamos que hacer interactuar tres ministerios, que es el Ministerio de Trabajo, el Ministerio de Educación y el Ministerio de Salud, para lograr una normativa que tenga cubiertos todos los criterios y todos los elementos para que esto implique, digamos que una garantía desde el punto de vista de remuneración de lo que ganan los ingenieros por su función, de educación, cuáles son los criterios que se deben evaluar, cuáles son los elementos que yo debo impartir o que debo demostrar como ingeniero clínico, ejecutor de funciones de la gestión tecnológica hospitalaria, y desde la perspectiva de salud es la seguridad del paciente como elemento fundamental. Estamos trabajando en esta parte. Corresponde todavía hacer un muy buen trabajo para definir las políticas en nuestro país. Digamos que hasta no tener una política formal, digamos que no va a haber una buena adhesión de los ingenieros al modelo. O sea, debe haber este modelo para que nosotros, digamos que podamos acceder y lograr ese criterio que es una necesidad a nuestro modo de ver. Y el siguiente punto donde seguramente habrá más elementos ya es en lo que yo llamo la logística. Es quién se va a encargar de hacer este ejercicio de acreditación. En Colombia, la acreditación o la certificación de personas depende de una normativa que es la ISO 17024. Hay una organización nacional que es ONAC, la que aparece con logo azul, el Organismo Nacional de Acreditación. Debe haber una institución que esté acreditada por este organismo y que haga uso de los estándares que estamos formulando en la base teórica, que ayude a terminar de definir la estructura, de forma tal que las personas que puedan lograr el cumplimiento de esos criterios y de esos elementos puedan confirmarse como ingenieros clínicos certificados. Ese es el propósito que tenemos. Hay un plan que estamos llevando y que esperamos se logre en los próximos 4 años. venimos creciendo y esta es la etapa en la que nos encontramos actualmente. Les doy muchas gracias por escucharme.
It appears that there is no sound, Leonardo. I cannot listen you.
¿Me escuchan?
Ahora sí.
Ok. Ok, muchas gracias. Muchas gracias a todos.
Gracias. Certainly, we have interesting and valuable insights by the side of the Colombian experience. Por favor, deja de compartir la pantalla para pasar a las preguntas, Leonardo. Muchas gracias. Now with some questions and then an exchange by the panelists. Let me share the first question. Is there any certification like AME CBET for Europe? Humberto?
Not that I'm aware of, because especially in Europe at the moment, we don't have a European association or any third-party body that could handle out CE certification program. Probably could be one of the things we can work on as a group of clinical engineering associations throughout the European soil, given that we share the same basic basis of law enforcement by the European community. But at the moment, that's not the issue. So sorry about that.
Okay, thank you. There is a question here. Is there any plan of IFMBE CED to develop a common syllabus and coordinate a program for certification? This is an issue that Fabiola Martinez, the CED chair, will be pleased to answer after the session, of course, in communication with the community of clinical engineers, no worry. There is another question here. Is there a plan to open courses for international clinical engineers? I believe this is a general question as well, and I would like to start the discussion then with the panelists. Humberto, in your presentation, you stated clearly some of the complexities to engage more participation from the clinical engineers to this achievement, the certification in clinical engineering. Also, what is the sense and the return of having a certification by the economic side, and also if this return is well recognized in the regulatory aspects in the government side. Certainly, COVID-19 provided us some opportunities, also challenges, but some opportunities in this regard. I would like to know, in the case of Italy, if these dialogues with the government stakeholders have been improved, or you think that this is something achievable in the future for the association to be engaged in some roundtables and discuss the relevance of the certification and, of course, the recognition of this certification by the government in Italy? Thank you.
Well, of course, as I said before, we had a stop in the process due to COVID pandemic. And then, as you may know, but if you don't, I will tell you right away, we just had the elections probably a couple of months ago. And so we have a brand new government in Italy. Hopefully, if this government doesn't have the rate of change we had through the years, meaning that it was very fast, and it keeps up for the next, let's say, 5 years, we do have the time to start roundtables and get to do something together. Because of course, this is a very long process, because it's not just the fact that it's related to being inside, being recognized as a valuable member of the healthcare system, valuable profession of the healthcare system, but it comes on also with some hierarchy process, also with a sort of balance with other professions that are within the healthcare system. And moreover, it's a matter of money. So you have to see how many people are there, how much you want to pay them. So it's really a step-by-step process. And we're really starting to make the car work again at the moment, because it's been stopped in the garage for the past few years. And probably this is a good time to do that, because the new government might help, might be more keen on listening, because they want to do something that the previous ones didn't do. And this is really to be really, okay, I'm missing the word right now. To think positive, if you see what I mean. So we will work with that. It's really a work in process, but it's all those three areas that I just outlined before.
Thank you. Leonardo, I would like to share with you a question, also to know if you would like the translation or you would like to do it directly in English. What would you like?
Please in Spanish.
Okay. Los avances que ha tenido el colegio en la interacción entre academia y gobierno son muy interesantes y muy dinámicos. ¿Cuál crees tú que ha sido el factor detonante, el que ha podido gatillar esta complejidad que acabamos de compartir con Humberto, ¿no? No es fácil, hay que aprovechar el momento político también para que el gobierno ingrese en este proceso, que es un proceso largo, ¿no? The Colombian college has been very intensive in the arena, in the academia, and also with the government regarding the clinical engineering certification process. Even though it is complex, they have been active in interaction with the Ministry of Health since the last years. And the question is, what do you think was the key factor to make this process, which is complex and long-term process, but you have started already? What do you think is the key factor which make it possible, que lo hizo posible? Adelante, Leonardo.
Gracias. Mira, creo que una de las cosas fundamentales es hacer parte del ejercicio. ¿Qué quiero decir con eso? Es difícil que el gobierno entienda la importancia y la necesidad de lo que necesitamos si no hay alguien que hable esos términos o hay alguien que hable allá para lograr que eso funcione de esa manera. En Colombia, a medida que ha ido pasando el tiempo y que estamos formando más ingenieros, pues estos están empezando a ser parte de las organizaciones gubernamentales. Hoy hay ingenieros biomédicos en el Ministerio de Salud, hay ingenieros biomédicos en instituciones como el INVIMA, hay ingenieros biomédicos en otros ministerios que han venido desarrollando actividades demostrando la necesidad de ese tipo de profesional y de su función en la gestión dentro del hospital. Esto ha empezado a llegar a los oídos de las personas que no están acostumbradas a escuchar esa forma de ver. Y aquí hay un elemento que siempre discutimos con muchas personas y es el sentido común. O sea, nosotros tenemos que formar un sentido común en términos de la seguridad del paciente. Y normalmente los médicos y las enfermeras tienen ese mismo sentir. Sin embargo, los médicos y las enfermeras hoy muchos hacen parte de los hospitales, pero no tienen la misma sensibilidad con lo que tiene que ver la seguridad del paciente en su interacción con la tecnología. Entonces, en la medida en que los ingenieros han empezado a estar allí y que son profesionales con excelente capacidad técnica, han podido abrir el camino y creo que ese ha sido un éxito, que grandes profesionales estén hoy en estas instituciones que ayuden a abrir el camino, a mostrar la necesidad y a que con ello podamos construir una estructura normativa que dé paso a que podamos nosotros hacer esta función de la ingeniería clínica cumpliendo los criterios de todos los aspectos, ¿no? El aspecto de la perspectiva del trabajo, que es un elemento muy evaluado en Colombia. Hay que decirlo, muchos ingenieros que ejecutan funciones de ingeniero clínico hoy cuentan con salarios muy bajos. Y esto afecta el desarrollo, el buen desarrollo de las actividades. Entonces, primero, la parte de la formación, segundo, la parte que corresponde al trabajo y tercero, la parte que corresponde a la normatividad. Creo que esos tres elementos es fundamental que se atiendan de forma al mismo tiempo y que podamos lograr el recurso necesario para que en cada caso podamos tener una formación de ingeniero clínico que permita entender desde la perspectiva de seguridad del paciente cuál es su función en lo que corresponde al trabajo, unos ingenieros clínicos que puedan, que ganen lo que corresponde, o sea, que tengan una buena, un reconocimiento económico adecuado y por otro lado, pues una condición normativa que les permita nombrarse como ingenieros clínicos, que exista la función de ingeniero clínico claramente definida en nuestras normas.
Muchas gracias, Leonardo. Certainly, the key factor stated by Leonardo is a two edges factor. One is the number of biomedical and clinical engineers who are now working gradually more and more in the Ministry of Health and public healthcare system in Colombia. And gradually, this presence of clinical engineers and biomedical engineers made possible the dialogue and the understanding by the side of the government. And it also made possible for them to achieve roundtables on which the value and pertinence of clinical engineering is more visible. Other issue in the second branch of this double factor is the use of safety of patients as a strong message to make valuable the presence of clinical engineers and the recognition of them in the healthcare staff by the government. And this is possible because by opposite from physicians or nurses, engineers are more able to demonstrate how much they contribute to safety of patients with the use of technology and the development of technology in health technology. And this is the added value for him to make possible this achievement in the process. It's complex. Also, he agrees with Humberto, saying that this complex process has three edges: education, the norms, and also the retribution by the side of the salary. Clinical engineers should have a salary which demonstrate the value of having that certification of clinical engineers. This is something reasonable, it's rational, and this is the. We have another question. Let me read it. Just a second, please. Listo. There was a question by the side of the chat. Just a second. Okay. If it's possible for someone who graduated in Italy but working in France to subscribe and take part to the activities of AIIC, the Associazione, and how to take part of your certification program? Humberto?
I did answer in the chat to this question, but I will repeat it. The enrollment in the Italian Clinical Engineering Association is as some rules that are stated in our paper, our establishment paper of the association. So you have to be a clinical engineer. I've been working as a clinical engineer for the past 1 or 2 or 3 years. We can check that. So actually, if you do have a degree in Italy, you can be part of the Italian Association of Clinical Engineers. I think you can also take part in the certification program, because it's not basically held by clinical engineers, it's held by the National College of Engineers in Italy. Of course, also they also require that you are a member of the National College of Engineers. So which is not really required to do any job in Italy. So that's really a second enrollment you have to go through, and they're not going together at the moment. So one doesn't cover the other, and vice versa. So you can enroll to AISC if you have if you can assess that you have some requisites, and you also can enroll in the process on the other side, because there are two completely different channels at the moment. We're talking into it, but there are 2 different channels at the moment.
Thank you, Humberto. Yes, I noticed you answered it already, but it was very nice to share it with our attendees now. I would like to set a final topic for both. In the case of Peru, for example, our way to make improvement in this complex process is to make a partnership between the College of Physicians, the College of Physicians of Peru, and the College of Engineers of Peru. By the side of the College of Engineers in Peru, we don't have a College of Clinical Engineers. René Mitma created the Commission of Health Technology Management. This Commission of Health Technology Management, I am a member of this committee. The members are engineers and physicians, and both members from the colleges, the professional colleges. And all the members work in topics of clinical engineering and digital health, artificial intelligence issues. And some of them we are very engaged with the public Ministry of Health and public healthcare organization. It's gradual, is not the perfect solution, is going to take time, but it's our way to make this synergy and dialogue, the awareness, as you mentioned very well, Humberto, and understanding of the worth in a rational way, which means the return is economic, is also legal on the regulation, but is also in the side of the community of professionals in healthcare. And so the question for both of you is, after the efforts invested and the lessons learned, what could be, by your side, a conclusion about clinical engineering certification value for the profession? La pregunta final para ustedes entonces es, luego de los esfuerzos invertidos a lo largo del tiempo y las lecciones aprendidas, ¿cuál es una conclusión final que ustedes pueden hacer acerca del valor de la certificación en ingeniería clínica? Who would like to be the first? ¿Quién quiere ser primero? ¿Leonardo o Humberto?
Leonardo.
Gracias. Yo creo que el valor que tiene la certificación es establecer condiciones en términos de seguridad. El establecer esas condiciones, formarlas y certificarlas, da una tendencia o nos lleva a lograr el establecimiento de unas condiciones de seguridad del paciente mayores, mejores. Esa es nuestra búsqueda, nuestro interés siempre como ingenieros en la función de la gestión tecnológica. Pero poder certificarlo establece de mejor manera las condiciones en las que lo podemos hacer y nos pone digamos que en una garantía ética de la búsqueda de esa expresión de seguridad del paciente a través de la tecnología.
Okay, muchas gracias. Leonardo believes that the key is to establish safety standards in benefit of the safety of the patient. This is something absolutely available by the side of clinical engineers, and this is something to be understood and also to promote in the to the stakeholders. This important, essential added value to provide improvement to safety of patient is done by clinical engineers, and clinical engineers with certifications has more opportunities and sustainability, a better context to make this achievement sustainable. Your turn, Humberto.
Well, I think Leonardo said it all. I'm quite sure that certification progress can enhance our capability to grant more safety to patients, because we have a higher degree of confidence of ourselves as clinical engineers in the job we're doing and what we're doing every day. We always have to remember that the main definition of clinical engineer that I like is that we are part of the clinical process, which is not just like we are a site, we are part of the clinical process. It's way different. And still you have to go through with knowing that you can do it in the best way, and knowing and letting other people know that you can do that in the best way, so they can trust you and they can work together with you, because if they trust you, it's easier for them to work together with you. So I'm quite sure this is the way to go. Probably we will see, especially in Italy, we'll see the results in some years. So we would have to keep in touch and see what we come up with in the next few years. But I'm quite sure that it will be a good way to go.
Thank you. And I do agree. And this network, these exchanges, and also the collaboration and contribution from all our community, Colombia, Italy, to exchange, discuss, and also to share information is absolutely needed. We are not able to waste time, neither resources. We do have a mission, and we are committed to the mission in benefit of healthcare globally. Thank you very much to all of you to make this session valuable, and also thank you to Humberto Noco and Leonardo Fabio Garcia Diosa. It was a pleasure. See you soon. The session will be available by YouTube, Facebook, and also in the network of CD ISMBE. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Bye.